Okay. All right. I'm very nervous. This is the first time that we have ever done this. This is the first time that I've done this outside of my fourth and fifth grade classes. Um, Welcome. My name is Matt Yancek, and I am your humble GM who's very nervous that this is all going to get screwed up in the spirit of the cipher system that we are using tonight. Thank you to anyone who happens to have tuned in tonight. What you're about to see is a historical live play. This is something that, as far as I know, hasn't really been done before. I think that maybe people might have actually um, run historical games, but not necessarily a live play. So I am just checking. Oh, yes. And we are live, and it looks like a couple people are watching. So I'm pretty excited about that. Um, Thank you very much for tuning in. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to blend fact and fiction in a game that will hopefully be informative and at the same time entertaining. The people that you see to my left, right, top, and bottom are good buddies of mine. We've been playing together for something like 30 years. I'm pretty excited to be playing with them tonight. We've been playing since high school, actually. And what I'm going to ask them to do is I'm going to go around and ask them to briefly introduce themselves to the probably small audience, if at all we have an audience that we have. And then we're going to get into the game. So let's start out with, let's see here. I'm looking at the YouTube feed, and I think I'm going to go clockwise. So why don't we start with my buddy James? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe? And then more specifically, though, a sentence or two about your character.
Great. Hi, I'm James. I live in Madison, Wisconsin, and I'm a musician and programmer and do whatever else. I'm happy to play with everybody for this very long time, rekindling it as we have over the past few months. Tonight, I'm playing a character named Vesper Evenwing, a pale human of unexceptional height, but dressed rather sharply with a nice collared black jacket with a bit of flash of scarlet in the lining. Disappointingly ordinary medium brown hair, but stylishly kept. With
Disappointingly? Why disappointingly?
Because
I'm
he wants to be
offended. I
rather.
have disappointingly brown hair.
No, yours is very exciting, but like
Thank you.
mainly because he's trying to capture this all black brooding look, yet almost dashing, but to the top, there's nothing more exciting except trying to keep it all together there. Uh, and as he seems fairly put together, he's rather disheveled and almost has a burnished, dirty look to him at the moment. Uh, his eyes will be held slightly wider open than possibly is comfortable for anyone else. And it's fairly typical to notice him fiddling with his metallically beringed right hand in a vest pocket for a pocket watch.
Sounds cool. We'll probably hear a little bit more from Vesper later on. Continuing around, let's talk to my good buddy Jared. Jared, thank you very much for agreeing to do this. I will. Your check is in the mail. I'm sure it will be there any day now. But just don't hold your breath for that. Okay.
I was definitely going to start holding my breath.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, my name is Jared. I'm living in New Jersey. Today I am playing Thomas Brandon Dietrich, usually called TBD. He is a graceful explorer that learns quickly. He is of German descent. His parents pretty much fresh off the boat. He's about 6 feet tall, 220 pounds, dirty blonde hair, blue eyes. He always seems to have that perfect 2-day stubble. No matter how many days he's gone to shovel, he always seems to have that. Usually wears a leather jacket, jeans, really comfortable black shoes. And he's just always seems to be on the move. He's generally a field scientist. He's sort of fresh off of the Bayer layoff, so he's looking for a new gig.
And when you say Bayer, you mean the pharmaceutical company, the German pharmaceutical company here in the height of, well, near the tail end, historically, of World War I. Okay, cool. Thank you very much, TBD. Continuing around, we got my good buddy, Steve. Steve, you want to tell us a little bit about your character?
Sure. Well, first about me, I'm Steve. I'm actually hailing from Connecticut at the time, but I do formerly reside in Maryland. And I'm playing Ezekiel Brewster, who is an exiled adept, part of this game. But his background was born to a wealthy Protestant family in Boston, a Brahmin family. But circumstances, which I'm sure we'll discover, has him exiled from that world and found himself in the seminary. And he's currently studying to be a priest. And since this is a role play fantasy, he's thin, unlike me, and he doesn't wear glasses, and about 20 years old, tall.
Not unlike you, though.
Not unlike me, right? And tall and lanky, and kind of a studious guy, kind of quiet, kind of shy, kind of reserved, and so excited to tell his story.
Cool. Thank you,
Also,
Steve, very much. Oh,
I do want to add, he does have a distinct interest in the budding automobile industry of the times. So.
Yes, which interestingly enough, Massachusetts has, I think in the year 1918, has something like 3 or 4 automotive companies in the area, in the state, which is kind of weird to picture now. But anyway, thank you very much, Steve. I'm sure we'll hear more about that later. Last but not least, we have my good buddy, Frank. Frank, tell us about your character.
Well, I'm Frank. I'm joining in from Western New York. I am playing tonight a large, middle-aged Irish single male, formerly a resilient night watchman who is licensed to carry. It's your prototypical, probably early 20th century guy, wears a suit, but kind of tattered. It's been around the block, overcoat, fedora. Spend most of my time working at the rail yard, keeping vagrants out. But you'll find a little bit
so
more
people
about me
like
real
yourself
soon.
in real life.
Correct.
Ironically, in the game, is this what you're saying? You keep out, right?
I'd run myself out, which is one of the reasons I chose Frank to play.
Oh, I get it. Irony. Okay, cool. Thank you very much. So maybe for those of you that don't really know me, which is probably no one out there, because everybody that's watching right now is probably someone that I know or one of us knows. So my name is Matt, and I am a teacher, actually, that works in the Boston area. I've been teaching for about 20 years or so now, but I've been role playing for something like 30 or 35 years. And truth be told, the fellows that you see here in this chat, these are some of the first people that I ever role played with. I mean, honestly, I have so many memories working. It's so odd to say that. It feels like it's a blend of work now and gaming. But I have so many memories playing with these guys. And I'm super excited. I wouldn't have chosen anyone else to try something so crazy with. I'm super excited to be doing this with these fellows. So as I mentioned before, I'm a nervous GM who really sincerely hopes that he doesn't screw things up over the course of the night. Hopefully I will graduate a few tiers and maybe make it up to like a confident GM that feels like everything's going well and is just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Maybe something like that would be better. So to the game. As I mentioned before, this is a historical fiction live play. So what we're going to be doing tonight is we are actually blending history with our fictional characters and non-player characters and some fictional events. So over the course of the next 3 hours, while we play, we're going to be talking about some events that were actually real, some events that, of course, are completely made up, and some events that are a bit of a blend of the two. So hopefully, if you're paying attention, you'll be able to tell the difference. And so, to the game. Boston, 1918. Is a city of 600,000 or 700,000 people. It's a city that's at the edge of it's the edge of change, the beginning of something brand new, something different. Boston has a massive amount of immigration to it at this time, and in Boston, there is a mixing of all kinds of cultures from all around the world. Boston has the 5th largest port in all of the world, and it's actually one of the largest cities in the United States. And so to this, we rack focus in to Fenway Park, home of the Boston Red Sox, which quite a few of us now are probably excited about because we're from New England, all of us originally. I just want to mention here that Jared is a conscientious objector to this game, wearing his New York Yankees cap.
Amen.
Look
blazing.
at him. I know, right? He came, like, I couldn't believe it. He showed up and he's like wearing that Yankees cap. Rack focus into Fenway Park. Fenway Park is just maybe 5 or 6 years old at this point in the year 1918. It is September 11th of 1918. And that puts us at Game 6 of the World Series. It's the Red Sox versus Chicago. It's Game 6, and the Red Sox are up by 4-1. And the rumor is that the players are throwing games in order to extend the series into this 6th game. Because according to some, the owners are holding out on the ticket receipts from the gate, and they're withholding money from the players. So the rumors are, and it's even in some of the papers like the Boston Globe, that the Red Sox got together with Chicago and they decided to extend things a little bit longer to get a little bit more pay out of their time. So attendance at the game is actually down. And what should be a super busy game is not very much so. Even the players themselves are not very excited about it. Fenway Park is located in the Fenway-Kenmore neighborhood of Boston, which is kind of in the central northern area of Boston, near the Charles River. Across the river is Cambridge. And so as we move in on Fenway Park, it's not really as busy as it should be. The park holds 30,000 guests, but on the day that we're here, September 11th, 1918, there are only about 13 or 14,000 people. And people are more interested, it seems, in what is going on in their own lives than they are in what's going on the field. So now, that was the silly narrative part that has to be done in order to create some sort of cool YouTube show. But actually, let's get to a real game now. Frank, you are in this area
Yep.
at the time.
Let's zoom
What's
in
the-
about 1 block out from Fenway. And I'm going to break the ice and
Okay.
perhaps break the fourth wall as well. Let's dive in.
What is your resilient warrior up to?
Heading
Tell us
to the
about
game.
him, and then tell us what he's doing.
Let me get into character. Hello,
Give it your best shot.
my name is Francis Murphy, but you can call me Frank. Walk with me if you'd like. I'm on my way to a job at that new ballpark just up the street in the Fens. It's called Fenway. Yep, the Red Sox are back in the championship series for the 4th time since Sean Taylor opened the park in 1912. I can't say there's much interest in this series, though. What with the combination of the war in Europe dragging on, Secretary of War Baker's work or fight order wrapping the season early, and the alarming spread of that strange illness among sailors here in Boston. Sorry I'm moving so slowly. Sure, I'm a 6'2", 220-pound man, but I'm nearly 40 years old. And you've probably noticed my tremendous limp. This busted left knee is all I carry from my short time years ago with the Boston Police Department. That's right. I was a patrolman in my youth, working my home neighborhood in South Boston. In the summer of '02, I was called on to remove an unruly bloke from a streetcar on West Broadway. He was huge and abnormally strong. It got physical, and he threw me around like a porcelain doll. I don't remember anything about anything after going through one of the windows, but I woke up in City Hospital with a crushed leg. The official report said that the trolley rolled over on me, but I can't imagine how that could have happened. The big bastard who worked me over? No, he was never apprehended or ever seen again. Trust me, I've been looking. Anyway, the docs, they were able to save my leg and even rebuild some of it. This one guy called it a miracle. Even so, after the long recovery and rehabilitation, I have this limp. Well, seeing as I was a cripple, the department let me go in 1903. Ironically enough, I was dismissed because I could no longer effectively walk a beat on the very same day that the police commission revealed its first patrol car. Yeah, I was initially bitter and angry, still am if I'm being honest. But the bigwig bastards in the department might have done me a favor. I used some of my local connections to get a job as a night watchman. Guard services were in high demand at the South Boston Rail Yard, especially after the questionable fire that leveled the Brooklyn Cooperage building. So I've been 16 years on the job now, working directly for the New York, New Haven, and Hartford Railroad. It pays a hell of a lot better than being a cop, and I can pick up the odd security job here and there to make a little extra. That's why I'm headed to Fenway, and we're already there. All right, I have to head over to Gate D to check in. It's been nice talking with you. If you ever need to get your hands on anything, and I mean anything, I can probably get it for you. Look me up in South Boston, near D Street and Old Colony Avenue. Frank Murphy. Everybody knows me around there.
Wow, Frank.
Well
Yeah,
done.
Jared, that
Well done.
I gotta say, I ladies and gentlemen at home, I was not expecting that. I don't think any of us were. I think the night is
Oh.
over. I don't think it's going to get any better.
Yeah, we're
than
done.
that. I
I'm
think that's
not
it.
prepared.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week. That was good, Frank. I like the research. You know what's funny though? You decided not to go with. So you were going to go with Cipher Street at one point, weren't you?
Ooh.
It's still in my pocket somewhere. That's down in
Oh.
South Boston. It's not up here by Fenway.
Yeah. So just for those of you that are watching, actually, we are using Cipher System tonight, as probably everybody knows, and we actually found a Cipher System, or a Cipher System street, a Cipher Street.
It will come into
Frank,
the play.
As you approach Gate D, there is a real hustle and bustle. But as I mentioned before, it's not really the hustle and bustle that you've come to expect. And even the hustle and bustle that you saw in the very first game, where people seemed excited about the game. Looking around, you see some people who are wearing masks. The Influenza Pandemic is just on the edge for the second wave right now. And there are some people that actually aren't wearing masks as you navigate. Are you wearing a mask, Frank? Can you tell us?
I
What do you
brought
think
one.
that Frank would be doing?
Well, honestly, with my work at the rail yard and on the docks in South Boston, I've seen what this stuff can do. I'm not taking any chances. One of the city officials in the health area recommended masks.
Okay.
So I came prepared for just such
Oh,
a
you
potential issue.
did. My goodness, you are certainly in character tonight. Thank you, Frank. Okay, cool. So then tell me though, what are you up to? So as a watchman here showing up for duty and collecting some time here, some overtime, what's your assignment for tonight? Is there anything that you should be doing, or
Well, I'm
are you
supposed to
kind of
check in, and I'm working as an usher for one of the sections in the stadium. Ushering on the surface is helping people find their seats, but really there's a little bit of security involved in keeping an eye on things, making sure people don't get out of control and don't get unruly. So
right?
while I'm helpful, I'm also there to perform a service. So
Okay.
if I'm heading into gate D in order to show my letter of temporary employment for tonight's bit of work and get told where to head to look more official.
Right. So then you manage to check in, and of course you're waved in through gate D, and they let you right in without any notice really at all. You're just Frank the watchman, and nobody really pays you that much attention. And you can kind of see looking around that there are other security officers every so often, but they mostly look pretty bored for today's game. There isn't much going on. There are people, eating. There are people like laughing in circles. The game is on the verge of starting, and there isn't really much for you to kind of look out for.
And that's okay. Quite honestly, I'm hoping it's slow enough that I can grab a seat and watch some of the sport myself.
Is there any particular spot that you enjoy in the park, like from one of the seats? You have half the seats are empty.
That's true. And given my stature, I can get almost anywhere right now. For now, I'm just going to wander through the concourse and keep an eye on things.
Okay, looking around through the concourse, again, it's not nearly as busy as you're used to. And I assume that you managed to check in and change into a uniform. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah, they give us a little bit more official looking attire.
Something to make you look a little more respectable.
A navy blue shirt and a change up of the cap.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. So with that, let's cut to TB Dietrich. TB Dietrich, as the game is sort of starting up, can you tell us where you're at?
Sure. Probably, I don't know if it's before the game actually starts or kind of wait till the first inning. We're probably there actually a little early to watch batting practice, to be honest. I am here with Dr. Seamus Farley of the Harvard Medical School. This is effectively a job interview for me. He is trying to woo me into performing services there to expand their field scientist division, right? They need people to go out and find, source, and bring back ingredients for the various vaccines and other alchemical items that they are creating.
Can you tell me?
Go ahead.
Can you tell me a little bit, or tell us a little bit about what, like, TBD? I'm sorry, I'm calling you TBD. Terrence.
Go for it.
Brandon.
Thomas.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's right.
You know what? I named you Terrence.
You did.
I think I wrote that down, and I was like, oh my gosh. Okay, so Thomas, Brandon, Dietrich. Can you tell us a little bit about what he looks like? But then also we want to know a little bit about what he does. So he's a research scientist. Is that correct?
Yeah, effectively, right? Effectively. I haven't figured out exactly how much science is truly involved in this yet, but we'll kind of figure that out. What he looks like, you said you wanted to know what he looks like. We didn't get that far.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Like I said, he's about 6 feet tall, dirty blonde hair, blue eyes, right? Always has the perfect amount of stubble. He's a pretty decently built guy. Usually almost always wearing a leather jacket, usually jeans, pretty comfortable, usable shoes to be out in the field. He's just an explorer by nature, right? He just always wants to keep moving. Never wanted to be tied down to a desk job of any kind. But yet he's also pretty curious about stuff. So this kind of works out. So he gets to travel and find items or ingredients or things that are needed to advance scientific research.
Okay, this sounds cool. So you're not 100% set on exactly who he is at this time, but I mean, we can
100%.
kind of explore and figure it out. It sounds good to me. Okay, cool. So then can you tell me, so Seamus leads you into the concourse and you notice looking around, one of the things, probably the first things that you spot as the researcher you are, is that so few people to you are wearing masks. But now I need to ask you the question. Are you and Dr. Farley wearing masks?
I believe Dr. Farley definitely is. I have a mask on me, but I'm not currently wearing it. It's outside. We're trying to keep some distance, but it's outside. It's pretty warm. We're not as susceptible to it. I know I don't have it right now. I've never had any sort of symptoms for it. I don't know if I've come in contact with it, but I don't seem to have yet. So I'm keeping the mask off for now. If he makes a comment, I have it, I'll put it on. Or if there's a requirement at the ballpark itself, I'll put it on. But
no, there isn't. And that's kind of the interesting thing about this time is that there's some knowledge of what's causing it, but there's also a lack of knowledge as far as whether or not the virus is spreading or not. And there's a lot of controversy in whether or not a mask is effective, what kinds of masks are effective. And there are people that just don't believe it. There are some that do and some that don't. So it wouldn't surprise me if, even someone such as yourself wasn't quite sure about it yourself. But
I think he believes it. He's got enough scientific knowledge that he believes it, but he knows that he's not infected yet, and he's pretty sure that Dr. Farley is not yet, so he's comfortable wearing it, but not wearing it.
Okay, we'll go with that for the time being. So Dr. Farley then shows you through, and as he leads you along through the passages beneath the grandstands, he's kind of pointing things out to you and showing you things that he thinks you might be interested in, and things that he's kind of like judging your opinion on what you think about this and what you think about that. At a certain point, he actually goes up, he gets a couple of hot dogs and offers you a hot dog and asks you what you think of it, because this is all part of the test. What do you think? What do you think? Please.
These are very good.
He's like consuming and he's droplets of ketchup are going down the front of his jacket and he's just wiping them up and licking his fingers.
They're just as good as the ones at Yankee Stadium.
Wait a minute. I just realized something. Are you wearing the Yankees cap in character?
I'm not wearing the Yankees cap in character now.
Okay.
But he was born in New York and spent most of his life there.
Because if you are, I was thinking of adding in my first GM intrusion and having a mob rush you and beat you within an inch of your life. I know. Okay, that
new character.
That part of our story is over.
No.
Okay, cool. All right, so he shows you to a set of seats, which are kind of okay, but maybe not the best spot. Fenway actually has a few bad seats there where they're behind like poles,
Holes. Yeah.
and you're not terribly behind a pole, but it's kind of blocking your view. And you look out at what is one of the actually a very small, as nice and new as Fenway Park is. You're kind of startled by how small the ballpark is and the field are, and you can see the players warming up as they kind of get ready for their game. Frank, back to you. So you're making your rounds, and you've just sort of started out on your rounds, and as you are heading up from the concourse going up into the grandstands, you actually recognize Dietrich. And you can kind of see him from afar. He is with someone that, I don't know, have you seen Dr. Seamus before, or is Dr. Seamus someone that's like new to you?
No, he looks
Or I
a
should say
little
Dr. Farley.
respectable. He looks kind of respectable. Not someone I would recognize him if I dealt with him before.
Too respectable for you.
Perhaps. He just seems on the up and up.
Okay. So in that case, I mean, I don't know. It's up to you. You want to introduce yourself, or you're gonna kind of keep.
I'm gonna see just if I can make eye contact with Tom there, Thomas, and but I'm gonna mark him and keep an eye on him because we've done some work in the past, and he might need some other stuff. Maybe I can parlay some work out of this.
I like how Jared actually looked away, like as himself from the screen.
I realized my dice are over.
As you forgot your dice. Are you kidding me? The game is over now.
I had a work Zoom before this. I had to clean up for the work Zoom.
Oh, okay. You brought you're backward. We're playing Cipher System. I don't bring my dice. You bring your dice.
Frank will roll for you. It's fine.
Oh yeah.
No, thank you.
Frank's a great roller. So he actually makes eye contact with you, TBD.
And I'm gonna give him one of these.
It's up to you whether or not.
Has the game actually started yet?
It's getting close.
Getting close. All right, then I will I'll give him the nod, and then I'll ask Dr. Farley if he wants a beer, and then I'll go up and get his beers.
So Farley is like licking his fingers, and he's got 3 more hot dogs like in a little paper tray, and he's like, he kind of gets it down and says, "Why, yes, please. I'll take another beer."
All right. So I'll get up and kind of make my way out.
Okay, sure. So now
kind of meander a little and kind of make sure that we're away from line of sight. You know, pick a beer distributor that's a little bit of a line of sight. That way there's no questions or anything I have to deal with.
So tell me though about this though. Why is it that you you and Frank know each other? Tell us a little bit about this.
Frank can chime in as he wants, but basically our history is that he is the guy on the docks or the train station, as the case may be, that I can go to help smuggle in certain things I need smuggled in to get cleared through.
This is
I've
interesting.
helped him with that. Yeah, I've helped him with some of that stuff from the docks that came in from overseas, and he's needed some chemicals from that factory right off the railway as well. I managed to get had some funny chemical names, but they were able to come up with it there, and I've supplied
a strange
it to him.
Smell.
Yeah, little noxious.
And you were like, you had it in your room that you rent like all night with all the windows closed, and you're just breathing it in.
I feel fine. There's Just no problems.
My skin's always this color green.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
I always feel lightheaded like this. Everything's fine. Everything's good. So you've been basically getting him like some goods.
Yep.
And
Oh,
so
yeah.
tell us.
Or it's either getting
Go
me
ahead.
goods or allowing me to get the goods in. Either way, to help the paperwork, to help keep attention away, things like that.
Okay, so I have kind of a question about this, and I've been kind of wondering about this. So is there anything nefarious going on here? So you guys talk about like, Frank will help you get stuff, and Frank, his character is the type of person that helps you get, or the type of ne'er-do-well that helps you get stuff. Is there anything nefarious going on where he's like smuggling illegal substances in or anything like that? Or how are we playing this?
Probably. I haven't done enough research on the laws back then, but some of it might be illegal, but generally it's the employer does not want it known that they are after this. So it's part of a trade secret more than anything else. That's kind of the angle. Trade secret more than it is truly illegal. Because it may still, some of them may actually be illegal.
Right.
And
do you know exactly what sort of substance here are you trying to concoct, or is that something we want to run with and we'll figure out as we go?
I think we'll run with as we go, but I'm guessing I had a bunch of stuff back in the history with Bayer, but now for Harvard, they probably want to work on an influenza vaccine.
Okay. We can sort of figure this out.
Yeah.
As we go.
And
go
just
ahead.
for the record,
yeah,
I don't steal stuff. That's kind of low. I still have a certain code, but I can trade all kinds of things to get the job done.
Oh, all right.
Someone needs tickets to the opera and they'll give me this or turn a blind eye to that.
Yeah.
I can go right down the line because I've got the connect.
Right. Okay. If that's the way you want to play it, I just wanted to get that straight because I know that in our session 0, we had talked a little bit about, how you're going to play your characters, but I wanted to make sure that I didn't know if it was anything illegal going on or if it was something that was a little bit, or if it was just,
a little bit of both.
I'd say it's questionable. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, a little bit of
all
both.
right. Well,
it's definitely gray.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, as you two are talking, what you notice is that there's actually a commotion as you bump into each other, and there's a commotion that kind of starts and ripples through the crowd. What sort of conversation are you having at this point? Are you just sort of like quietly nodding to each other, or what's your?
Well, if we're out of line of sight, I'm going to approach you, and it's Thomas. You went by something like TP or something. What?
TBD works.
TBD.
Yeah.
Frank,
I remember you.
I got you that stuff. Is there anything else you need right now? Things are a little bit thin on the home front.
Yeah, for me too. At the moment, there's nothing yet. I'm actually here on a job interview, and I'm hoping if it goes well, then there will be stuff in the future.
That's what I like to hear.
So we'll see. Fingers crossed.
So this ripple now is getting louder, and there seems to be some sort of commotion.
Is it the wave?
And you see what you actually see are you see several security guards that run right past you both. And the fact that Frank is a security guard and just standing there makes you kind of think that perhaps he's not doing his job unless he wants to do his job.
I better go check out what is happening over there. I'll catch you.
For it. All right.
At that moment, however, you hear, "Don't shove me. I'll shove you." And then with that, you hear almost supernaturally a a punch that flies through somewhere several people away in a line at a concession stand. And this is actually something that's going on that's totally separate than whatever it was that the two security guards were rushing after to investigate. And a scuffle breaks out.
I'm heading to the scuffle, nice and slow with my somewhat limpy gait, but I'm heading right there. Big
So
man, I can break this up.
You don't even have to worry about like finding, space to get in there, because that thing happens that you see. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen a fight or like I've never been in a fight, never that I've won. So what you see is there's a ripple through the crowd as everyone spreads out, and in the center of the crowd, kind of like there's this almost force field of, and when I say force field, I don't mean it in a fantasy way. I mean it like in a just worldwide, like real world way, that's around these two as they start like smacking, first like just grabbing at each other, in that way that maybe people do when they're kind of drunk and not really, they're a little bit out of sorts. But you can kind of see quickly that it's about to probably escalate.
Now, I've seen this before. I'm going to try to get my thick, large self in between the two of them and push them apart.
Okay. So if you're going to do that, I'm not actually going to have you roll for initiative at this point, because they are not really paying attention to anything outside of each other. But what I am going to ask you to do is, you're going to have to try and take an action here and push yourself through. So you're going to have to roll to succeed on this. And the two of them, they're not quite. How tall are you, Frank? You probably have told me this. Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm over 6 feet.
Probably, on average, there's no danger there. These two are smaller than you, but there's a couple of them, and these two are heavy, and they look like they kind of mean drunken business toward each other as they go at each other. So I am thinking of a task difficulty level for you to intercede. And the way that Cipher system works for people that are kind of listening at home is that the game master has 10 levels to choose from, and the difficulty of a task goes from 1 to 10. And then the task is assigned a difficulty that is multiplied by 3. So if I think, for example, the difficulty is a 4 difficulty or a 5 difficulty, that number is multiplied by 3. And then the player actually has to equal or beat that number in order to defeat it. But the player can also make some choices. They can either use an asset, they can use a skill, or they can apply a level of effort in order to lower the difficulty rating. So Frank, just to sort of get us going here for our very first roll, can you tell me how are you going to approach this, and whether or not you want to use like effort or an ability or an asset?
Is this a roll to slip and push between them?
Yeah,
what we're talking about?
To basically, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to call this to get them to stop. Really simple, rather than get you into a tough, I mean, unless you want to get into this.
Well, we'll see. So I'm not going to use an asset right now, because other than picking up one of the other bystanders and using them as the asset to push in, that just doesn't feel right to me right now. So instead, I'm going to, one of my skills is within interacting. So I got intimidation.
Okay.
I'm going to try and be bigger than I actually am, which is already pretty sizable. but I'm also going to use some effort, and it'll be might effort. So I've got
Okay.
an edge of 1.
Yeah.
So I'm going to subtract 2 from my might pool
Okay.
and use that effort as well.
Yeah, sure. So how many levels are we easing the task here then?
By 2.
Okay, go ahead and make your roll.
Ooh, I got a 9.
Oh. You are easily able to slip between the two of them,
guys.
give them kind of like the hairy eyeball, and even through their kind of drunken fog, through the haze of their drink, they're able, or you are able to get them both to stop, and they both kind of sheepishly back off, and they're kind of just swaying to and fro as they look up at you. And one of them almost falls over, and the other one does fall over, and he's caught by someone in the crowd at that moment. And the moment that this happens, the moment that you slip in between them, you actually feel something heavy in one of your pockets. You think it's someone tugging at first, but you're not sure. And the same thing actually happens to you, TBD. You place your hand in your pocket, and somehow there's something there. It's kind of heavy.
Someone
Look around quickly and see if there's anyone near me that would have done this.
Looking around, you don't see anything. You're not really it's not like you're a super stealthy, sleuthy kind of guy. Doesn't seem like anyone is doing this. Everyone's got their attention focused on what just happened with Frank and the two drunkards that were arguing.
Okay.
I'm going to reach into the pocket just to feel around, make sure nothing's missing, see if something's in there. That's just odd. Usually we're getting stuff taken from us.
So you reach into your pocket, and when you pull out the object, it's an almost spherical orb of stained glass. And looking at it in the light, it's kind of odd. It's like stained glass. It's kind of like reflects and refracts all kinds of colors. And these color, you can't quite tell. Are you looking at something that's green, or is this blue? But there is something very obviously etched in the surface of it. And the etching says, "Help at gate A." And then there's what looks like kind of a rune that is etched, or maybe a symbol of some sort that is etched on the other side. And then between, or on the either side of you, flanking you, the two drunkards are just sort of moving back and forth at the moment. And they look like...
Yeah, I'm going to tuck the orb back in my pocket and focus on these guys, because this is where you can catch one if you're not
We're
paying
sorry,
attention.
sir. We are just... What were we doing?
Hey, the game is...
And one of them looks at the other. We were drinking. Yeah,
No
I was drinking. Weren't you drinking? We were just drinking, sir. And one of them starts to just sort of walk away as if nothing happened. Not like in a nefarious way.
No.
He's just walking away like, oh, okay. And he sort of remembers the game's going on.
Yeah,
and then
it's starting.
He starts to fall into the crowd, and the crowd grabs him to hold him up. And there's a lot of laughter that actually starts rippling through the crowd as this happens. And then you see the other one who's just like standing around near you. He's got his hands over his stomach, and he's like, whoa.
Oh, buddy, slow down.
He starts to lean forward.
I'm getting out of the way.
And he's like, can you help? He reaches out and he just grabs like your lapel.
No, slap it aside.
When you slap it aside, he just falls face forward into your chest. And he's just completely pushing against your chest. And it looks, you almost oddly, you have this urge to like comfort him.
Not
like a
so
newborn,
much.
like a newborn child.
I did not roll that urge.
Ugh.
I'm just gonna push my mask towards him so he falls back. But I'm not gonna let him fall
No.
and crack his skull on the
What a
ground.
cruel watchman you are. You
Just gonna let him down. Sober up, buddy.
he falls forward and he just scrambles down.
You here with anybody?
He's face down on the cement
All
right
right.
now, Frank. I don't know if he's and he actually starts to curl up in a fetal position and more people start like laughing all around. And he's just there and actually a lot of people are now paying attention to this this gentleman.
I think we've taken care of the fracas. Is anyone here with this guy, this sock? Anybody?
About a dozen people all do this. And they do this.
Right.
The closest one.
And then they start like walking away.
You.
You.
You're taking
Yeah.
care of him now. You.
Yes, sir. It's like this very young, wet behind the ears looking like he probably snuck in. He's like in suspenders and a pair of pants that are up to his nipples. He's like, yes, sir. What? He's got a Baker Boy hat on that's like kind of sideways. He looks like a newsie. Yes, sir.
Help this guy to a seat, and if he pukes, make sure he doesn't choke on it.
Oh, if he puke, what's puke mean?
Vomit.
Oh, okay. I'm
If
sorry.
he-
I'm not from 2020. I'm from 1918.
My bad. One for the
Okay.
jar.
So the young fellow wet behind the ears and looking kind of like with some scruffy kind of hair, he's like, okay, sir. And he leans over and he starts helping him out. And you see him like kind of pulling him off the ground and trying to get him to like a corner to sort of clean him up. Are you doing anything during this time, TBD, or are you just sort of shaking your head?
I was going to leave and go back to. Well, first I'm actually going to leave and try to make sure I get the beer, and then go back to Dr. Farley. I'm trying to
key.
close that loop.
Imagine going through all that and you just go back with nothing, and the guy's like,
Yeah.
all right, that's great. Are you gonna meet up again with Frank at all, or have a talk to him, or is this kind of it?
Well, let me ask you this: while I'm getting the beer, I'm definitely going to look at whatever was placed in my pocket. Do I have the same thing?
You pull out the same thing, a spherish orb made from some sort of stained glass. Help at gate A. And on the other side is a rune of some sort. Are either one of you sharing this information with each other?
Well, I'm looking to TBD to see if he's still back where I left him in the modest crowd. And just for annotation, the beer's this way, TBD. So these guys were in front of one of the finest stands in all the stadium. So you might as well touch
I'll
base.
take their place, and I'll get a beer, and then after I get the beer, I'll touch base with him. By that time, most of it should be over, and he should be finished giving his orders about how to handle drunk guys.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, let's actually cut over to our two poor, neglected players. All alone, sad, orphaned by the game master. So Vesper, what are you up to at this point? You can kind of see, I know that you were hoping to start out at the Boston Public Library. We had talked about this kind of before.
That's correct. I am in the Boston Public Library in the common kind of front study area, asleep on a heavy leather-bound chair with my boots up and crossed on a low table ahead of me. And very quickly I start awake
Mhm.
and sit bolt upright and quickly look towards the librarian and towards the door and try and compose myself.
Looking around, what you realize is that everyone is actually now looking over at you. And when they look at you, you are the one that actually disrupted all of them and their goings on.
I pick one at random and just stare at them very deeply.
You're looking at most likely a young Harvard student. Maybe not so wet behind the ears, but what is this Harvard student who looks a little bit kind of nerdy, shall we say, as he looks up? What does he see when he looks at you? How do you look?
I'm a pale-skinned man, around 25 years of age, dressed fairly sharply, but
Mm-hmm.
upon closer inspection, looks a little dirty right now.
Mm-hmm.
And seems of a style of the time, but trying to go for a very brooding, all black look. And my eyes are just a dark brown, but they're wider than maybe anyone comfortably would have when they look at him. And I attempt to have a rather penetrating gaze to just stare down this person.
And that's honestly, so it's easy for you to do. You do not even have to roll at this. He just goes back to his studies and he's sort of looking back at his book. It's so simple. You look, I assume, and we can talk about this, but I assume that you look about nicely, usefully rough around the edges. If
Well,
that's a safe assumption.
rather thin, not necessarily super healthy, pale. My hair is well kept, and
Mhm.
my dress is fairly sharp, but it's just that little twinge, a bit of like I've been maybe too long outside of comfortable surroundings.
Mhm.
And as these are very smart college students, they will realize that even though I might have caused a bit of a start, I don't feel that it's a problem. They in fact are.
Okay. So they basically leave you alone and nobody really gives you a second look after you kind of like turn that gaze all around the room. Maybe the librarian who knows that it's her duty to sort of watch out for things, like kind of watches you out of the corner of her eye. And at this point, what are you up to? What were you doing? Why were you sleeping there in the middle of the Boston Public Library?
Well, of course, I am a musician in the town, and I am there studying music. I reached down to pick up a manuscript of a score that I had lying on my lap that I upended when I got up.
Mm-hmm.
But really, it's because it's a place to stay. I have nowhere else to go right now, and public spaces are going to be very, very good. I probably had fallen asleep there because I was exhausted trying to stay on my feet around Boston. So,
So
but
you've
at
been,
this, yeah,
go ahead.
no, that was it.
Well, I was going to ask, can you tell us a little bit about what you've been kind of doing with your life recently?
Yeah, just recently I had, with the pandemic, Symphony Hall in Boston itself had been, the season had ended. Not a lot of people there. They're not having a lot of people inside doing their normal duties off season that they might do. And I just stole my way in there to find a place to stay because I currently have no home. And that lasted for a good while. And I've been struggling through as a composer, but who's lost the ability to work with my teacher and mentor, and have been trying to find patrons and people in the city to help me find places to live and continue with my art and do what it is I need to do. But since I am now just out on the street, I haven't been able to go back to Symphony Hall, and I'm kind of looking for where I can find a new way to keep going.
Okay. So then I would like to know, where is Ezekiel at this moment?
So I am actually seated at one of the desks in the library. I had requested a book on early colonial history of Massachusetts for not part of my seminary studies, but just out of my curiosity, historical curiosity. So I've been perusing that and kind of noticed, just kind of studying the scene, studying the people that are in and out of the library. And I kind of noticed the little exchange between Vesper and the other student.
Yeah, it definitely would have been something that you noticed, and you saw the whole exchange with the Vesper and the student. And how did you feel about that, though?
I feel, like fairly detached. My studies have kind of, given my background in having lived on the streets for a couple of years before ending up in the foster family. I've kind of learned to keep to myself, but also to try to figure out what people's angles are. And I feel like Vesper's certainly an interesting character, and I kind of appreciated the little interchange, and so I think I'm kind of intrigued by who this Vesper might be, and he does actually seem a little bit familiar to me, but I can't really place where.
So, Vesper, you do notice that someone seems not to have been quite so intimidated by your hairy eyeball. And as you look up, you do see Ezekiel. So how does this go? Tell us a little bit about how Ezekiel and Vesper meet. What do we think here?
So I stand up, very normally. I don't feel there's a problem with anything happening here. And I have this score that I was looking at one hand. I pick up my leather-bound kind of messenger bag in the other, and I'm keeping I soften my gaze from what I had been doing before, and keep some furtive glances towards the librarian, because I kind of want to make sure I'm not continually being noticed. But I want to peer.
She is watching you. It's kind of hard at this point. Like, she will look back at you every so often.
Okay. I want to noticing that someone else has kind of noticed me in a more subtle way, like maybe taking some interest. I want to get a good look while I'm, monitoring the librarian to get an eye full of who that might be.
So what is Vesper looking at here, Ezekiel? Tell us a little bit. I know you described yourself before, but can you tell us what he sees? And how do you feel about Vesper kind of like now turning his attention to you?
Well, I'm actually wearing my collar at this point. So I'm dressed in, black shirt and black slacks. Obviously somebody who's in the priesthood. Very, very thin, slick back, black hair. Fairly tall, probably 6'2", 6'3", and but very, very thin, very, very not very muscular. Very serious. And as Vesper kind of looks me over, I just kind of give him a glance, but not in a threatening manner. more just one of interest, and give him kind of a friendly nod. And
Vesper, how do you feel about that? I feel like a counselor. How do you feel about that? Tell us. Tell me.
Well, tell me about your mother.
Here's a couch. I'll tell you about my
I'll
mother.
tell you about my mother.
I'm making Blade Runner references
Yeah,
now,
nice.
but
I don't have really much reaction towards being considered, but I do take an interest in the fact that this may be a member of a clergy, and I see his face, and it's kind of ringing a bell, like there's a resemblance there.
Mhm.
So I consider that a moment as I'm, still checking the librarian a bit, a little nervous about that, and I start striding forward towards his desk.
So go ahead and make as you're striding forward, how are you reacting to this, Ezekiel? When you say striding forward, are you like charging him or just sort of walking
but just
straight to him?
I am walking confidently straight for his desk.
Okay.
I'm
So
not,
go ahead and make an intellect roll. And I'm not telling you what it's for.
Is that me or Steve?
You, Vesper, please.
I have rolled an 18.
You definitely recognize the person sitting before you, but it's not the sort of recognition where you're thinking to yourself, you know who this person is, but you know this person's family. They look like someone you've seen before, or certain someones you have seen before. And so that feeling is creeping into your mind where you're like, you're either now feeling, I'm guessing, I don't know. How does that make you feel? You know you recognize this person somehow.
Since I recognize them, and am I making the actual connection for who it is I'm recognizing, or is it just like, this is someone I know?
You've seen someone in their family. There's something about the way he moves, something about the way he looks, maybe his eyes, maybe the way his nose is shaped. There are elements.
I get that spark of, this is someone I know, I have an edge on them. So I get a little turn of the lip of a smirk, which could be construed as friendly or other, and get right up to the desk. And I raise my right hand, which is got full of metal rings on it, just a fist, but I'm not going to punch. And I just right on the desk, not quietly.
All right. How do you react, Ezekiel?
And I'm leaning in. I know of you.
Okay. And who are you?
I'm Vesper. How do I place you? I've seen you in town.
You look familiar to me too.
It's your family. It's your family. Surely a sibling.
Let's and I look over to the librarian, and
she kind of looks over to you, and she looks like she's wants to offer you help. Is like that sort of, is this person bothering you kind of look?
I pick up the book and I look over at Vesper and say, let's go outside. Let's talk about this.
It's a beautiful day. Of course we should.
All right. So I go and drop the book back at the front desk. And
as you do so, she kind of leans in. Are you okay, sir? Is this gentleman bothering you? And she kind of looks over your shoulder.
No, he's fine. He's fine.
While she's distracted with this,
yeah,
I'm putting my messenger bag on,
yeah.
And behind me, I put my arms behind me. I lift the flap on my messenger bag and just slip in the score into my bag.
Make us, well, you can tell me, make a speed or an intellect. How do you interpret that? Could be speed to like get it quickly in your bag. It could be intellect to somehow kind of.
Actually, I'm going to do this.
Okay.
I will leave the score on the desk where I was, and I put
Okay.
on my bag. And as we're walking towards the librarian, I lift the flap behind me while I'm just kind of stroking my jaw, and I use my hedge magic to float the score into my bag.
Okay.
That's awesome.
And so tell me a little bit about what this looks like.
So really, it's very nonchalant. I
Hmm.
put it down just as anyone, oh, it's time to leave. And I get the messenger bag over my shoulder, turn as I'm tugging it, and then it just starts floating right in there. And with a flourish, I stroke my jaw, close the flap, and walk towards the librarian and Steve.
All right. At that
As
moment,
I'm blocking the actual object moving into my bag.
the moment you use your hedge magic and the moment actually the score slips into your bag, you feel a heavy weight in your pocket, as if something were tugging. And the same thing goes for you, Ezekiel. Something heavy is in your pocket.
As I'm trying to do this pretty smooth as my big sleight of hand move,
Right.
and I have my flourish, like the final gesture, I'm like, oh, and I try to act cool.
As if you were
I
expecting it the whole
reset
time.
myself, yes. But I'm, of course, very curious, and I just immediately get to my pocket to see what's going on here.
So you successfully get the score into your pack, and then at this point you put your hand into your pocket, and you feel something round and heavy that may have scratches on it of some sort. Are you two just going to the librarian just sort of nods a goodbye? And actually, I was going to say, as the score was floating, she's looking at you, Ezekiel, and she just smiles and she just says, you have far more patience than I do, sir. And then are you both just heading out now?
Yeah.
So
same thing?
Yeah, I feel a little harried from this unexpected event. And
yeah.
So I'm walking a little faster than maybe is prudent in such a situation.
So as you emerge out into the light, you get a breath of fresh air and things change. You go from that kind of contained library-ish kind of air where everything smells like oiled wood and there's stone and there are books that have, possibly hundreds of years old. You step out into the open air and you hear the hustle and bustle of the streets. And now this is 1918 Boston, a time when you are as likely to see, it's rare, but there might be horses on the streets mixed alongside cars, mixed alongside trolleys. There are people coming and going. And now that you are out in the light, you can hear very faintly the sounds of a crowd, not so loud. And what you realize you're hearing are the sounds down, at Fenway Kenmore of the World Series Game 6 starting up. And the crowds don't sound as loud as they usually or used to sound. And of course, the attendance is down. And as you look out across the street in that hustle and bustle, you see some people wearing masks, others not. Some people hurrying on business, some people idly chatting with each other on the stairs or on the doorsteps of stores or restaurants, sitting at seats and tables and around sidewalks at restaurants. Some wear masks, some don't. But one thing that you kind of notice is that there is some coughing every so often. And this is the grip. This is the flu, which is moving across the world at this moment, even as World War I rages. The two of you step out into the sun and you have a moment, because the two of you don't really notice this because you're used to this. You take this for granted. But we, watching you, are kind of a little bit disoriented by it. So you have a moment now to interact with each other.
I'm going to speak while I have this item in my hand in my pocket, and I have an identifying skill, and I'd like to do what I can just feeling it, rubbing my thumb over any of the striations and things to see what I can find. And as we're standing there, we walk out on this busy street, and I am engaging with Ezekiel to say, Fortune herself is waxing that we have this chance meeting. We should make the most of it and go to the game.
So tell me, are you pulling, I'm sorry, I missed that part. Are you pulling
I want to get a feel for it
object?
First.
Just feel it before you pull it out? Well, for this one, make an intellect roll.
Ooh. Does anything happen with that?
Well, you're using your ability, right? Which ability was it?
This is a skill known as identifying.
Okay. So tell me how identifying, or tell us how identifying works.
Well, due to my breadth of experience with objects, I suppose.
Okay.
It's having that knowledge of handling things and cataloging things and knowing what we see, to find the material, to just through a feel of something to maybe decipher a word or a shape, the material, the whether it emits warmth, if there are jagged edges, things, if it's dangerous, the relative weight and comparative to other weights.
Okay. Go
I
ahead.
have an edge in intellect. Does that aid me at all?
Well, if you have an edge in intellect, that just means that when you spend a level of effort, it's 1 point less when you take from your intellect pool. So if you want to use that level of effort along with your ability, then I'm reducing the step, or I'm reducing the task difficulty by 2.
Okay. Yeah, I think I want to do that because I only think that this is happening to me. And I'm nervous to just like pull something out and be like, what's up? So
Okay.
yeah, I'll do that.
Go ahead and make your roll.
Oh, lucky 18 again.
18, very nice.
Sorry, hold up. No, it's a 16. This die is kind of dark.
I like this. This is why I like playing. I've said this before, but this is why I like playing with people that I played with for like 30, 35 years. I can trust in their honest hearts, because we're not doing any of that silly, like, I know you guys like it, but I don't like all that online rolling. I swear it's no good. And I really prefer the dice. But
on second thought, oh, look at that, Natch.
Oh, silly of me.
It's super critical.
So that would be a major intrusion, though, but we'll get to that.
Oh, geez, I don't know what I'm in for then.
When we come to it. So at a 16, here's what I'm going to say. When you're identifying it, actually roll a d20 and tell me what the number is. This is totally unrelated, and this is something I'm making up on the spot.
That's a 19.
A 19.
Wow, 19 for me.
What you get is the image of, it feels for a moment, you feel disoriented. And you feel almost like kind of wobbly, as if you're going to fall over. But then what you realize is that you're looking out through another person's eyes.
Whoa. And
you see a crowd, and there are people coming and going around you, and you hear like the echoes of announcements, maybe baseball park announcements being made. And it's very blurry and it's a quick flash. And as you look up, what you see is some sort of security guard who's just pushed himself through two people. And now you're not in the security guard's eyes, you're seeing through someone else's eyes as the security guard is kind of separating these two people. And then the flash is gone.
I release the object and just pull my hand from my pocket as if it's burning. So it's this kind of grandiose gesture of like this, just out of the blue. And I realize what this looks like. And I stop myself. Like I said, a beautiful day. We should make the most of it, Ezekiel. Come with me, come. And I feel a bit of a hurry to get towards the game.
What are you thinking, Ezekiel?
I'm thinking that he's probably drunk, and I'm going to say, "All right, Vesper, we can go towards the game, but please, I brought you outside here because I don't go by Ezekiel anymore. I go by Z. And if you could do me the kindness, don't speak of my family. I don't much associate with them anymore. But I do remember you. You were a friend of my brother Jake's. Is that correct?"
It is. And I lightly put a hand on his shoulder and start ushering him as we're moving into the street. Hopefully you go along with that.
Yep.
And
roll
we
for
start
initiative.
walking. No. and we start moving, and I say, yes, we'll strike an accord in this, of course. But for this brief moment to just nail down our relations. Yes, your brother, I knew him, and your family. The Brewsters, in fact, is this correct?
That's them.
Indeed.
That's them.
Great patrons of the symphony.
They are. They patronize the arts for sure.
Indeed. You as well, a man of the cloth, as I see. Surely you are interested in the creative efforts of man.
I appreciate good music for sure.
Good. Then it is done. I call you Z.
Z, yes.
I don't mention your family.
Thank you. Thank you, Vesper.
And so the two of you, are you walking to the game? Ezekiel, are you going to check out what you have in your pocket or just continue?
I'm going to reach in because I feel that there's something there that shouldn't be, and kind of just reach in and pull it out.
You pull out a spherical, kind of almost stained glass colored orb. Probably, and I don't think I described it before, the size, but it's probably about the size of your palm. It fits very nicely in there. It's quite heavy. This one is maybe a red-orange color. Please remember the colors, because as I'm assigning them randomly, and I'll never remember them myself.
What color did mine feel like? I'm just kidding.
Oh, it felt like I don't know. That's a good question.
I don't know.
You're testing my limits as a game master. Like, how do you describe? It's actually kind of cool. Well, anyway. So looking at it, one side, help, gate A. The other side, as you flip it over, it looks like it's some sort of a rune or some sort of odd shape symbol on it, and it looks like they've been etched into it finely. And I mean, if you hold it up, you can kind of see inside it. It looks like there's almost a life shimmering to it.
I hold it up and say, Vesper, have you ever seen anything like this before?
I just fixate on it and look at what I can see. Which side of the orb is facing me? The rune or the words or what?
Oh, so you have looked at it now. So as you take it out, you
no,
hold
not
it
mine.
Up.
Looking at
mine.
Mine.
His. Oh, I get it. I'm sorry. So I don't know. Which side are you showing, whatever it happens to be, you can kind of see as Ezekiel holds, I'm sorry, as Z holds it up, you can see on one side the rune, and then through it, glimmering in the sunlight, you can kind of see it's almost like a prism. If you're looking at the rune on one side, you can kind of see the lettering on the other, and when he reverses it, the same thing happens.
I want to learn more about, just from looking at this object, and through I have identifying as a skill, but I also have supernatural knowledge. Is it possible to kind of leverage both of those to notice if A, I've seen anything like this, and B, if this rune, if I actually have seen it or know how to read it?
Yeah, so let's see here. We can work on reducing it by the difficulty by 3 steps here. If you can tell me if you have an asset, meaning something physically like on you that would enable you to, and it might be something like a spyglass, or it might be like even just a monocle. And then it might also be any number of different physical objects. The second thing you can do is use that ability. So we'll reduce it by 1 step for that. And then the third is to apply a level of effort. So do you want to apply the effort and use the ability? And then do you have, if you have a third thing, an object, an asset, we can reduce it 1 more step.
Ooh,
Oh,
I think we lost him.
He's looking for something.
yeah. Somehow, unfortunately, at the key moment, we have lost
Linked out.
James. But that's actually okay, because in another minute, oh, there he is. James, you've changed your name. Good to have you back. That was great.
That is my true name.
If we're gonna screw up while we're live playing, actual playing, that's great. You just hopped out and hopped back in. I hope that every time we get disconnected, that's as easy as we reconnect.
Right.
So
Chrome just took a dump. So now I'm back.
As it is wont to do. So I was saying that you already have 2 things that you can apply the level of effort, and then you can actually use that knowledge. But do you have a third thing that you want to reduce the step by? Do you have like some sort of...
Let's see. I have my edge. I have effort. I'll spend a point of intellect in my pool.
Well, let's see here.
Is that a thing?
So spending the effort counts as spending out of your pool.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So then, yes,
that is it. So what
So
I'm asking
that
for
does
is a
deduct from
physical...
my intellect
Yeah.
pool total for right now. Okay.
Yeah. So what I'm looking for here is a physical object that you can somehow say, this thing would give me an advantage. It could be a book that you have on you. It could be, like I was saying before, a spyglass. Could be any number of things. If you can tell me that, then I can reduce it.
I'm really strapped and am not one for material goods right now.
What are your
So-
ciphers?
Oh, right. No, those aren't helping. Nah, I just don't.
Okay, so we'll reduce it by 2. Go ahead and make your roll. And tell me exactly what you want to know.
I want to read and translate the rune, if possible, and identify or categorize this object as a supernatural, mystical device.
Okay.
That's an 18.
18.
Man, this red die, it kicks ass.
Where did you get that? I need one.
Yeah, it's
I know,
the blood
right?
red and black. It's very beautiful. Yeah.
Looking at it, it's not a rune. It's part of a map.
What?
As a matter of fact, well, we'll just say it's a map. That's what I'll give you for an 18.
All right. As soon as I realize it's a map, I just rip the thing that's in my pocket out and I hold it next to Z's. I just make the connection like that.
Holding it there, you see that it's actually a quarter of a map because it looks kind of like putting the two together. It looks like on one surface it continues, and then these two are together.
And it appears that they match up in some.
They match up.
What color is my orb?
Oh no, you're gonna stress me out. Now I have to remember. I'm so nervous. We're live.
You don't even
and I've
have to
forgotten
roll
what
dice
colors.
in this game, Matt. Come on.
I know, right? That's the whole point. The point of not rolling dice. Thank you very much, Monty Cook, for that.
Right.
The point of rolling dice, or of not rolling dice, is to free the game master's mind up so that they can focus on other things like story and character. Unfortunately, I don't quite have the mind even for that. I think what I really need is something to, like, I don't know, plug into my head that's going to help me out. So I
you
know
saying
that
the colors of the orbs are not in that binder of yours?
Yeah, it's a big enough binder.
Is that what you're telling us?
Ladies and gentlemen, they are referring to the binder that I prepared in order to play this game. I have binders filled with information about Boston, just binders filled with them, which I've created. I know you people are going to think like I'm crazy, but I actually put this thing together as research for the game because I wanted to make it as authentic as possible because I owe it not just to the players in this case, but to you, the viewer, to make sure it's all correct. But no, I don't have a color.
No color wheel.
There wasn't.
Right.
There wasn't any room for that. So I know that Frank had one that was kind of blue-green. I know that Z had one that was
red and orange.
That's what I said.
The
Except
tail of the
got a
tail.
little bit of the grip, just in the spirit of the game. So let's make yours. Let's make yours kind of yellow-ish.
Lovely.
Are there other colors? And so looking at it, it says the exact same thing, help gate A. And then it indeed matches up. And it looks like there are probably, when you put them all together, it would probably make a half, unless the thing is very oddly shaped. But
What kind of a shape? Is it like a large landmass, a street map? Does it have any kind of identifiable shape to it in these two parts?
that is in the binder, Jared.
Oh, good.
Oh, there you go.
Just
See?
so you know. It's actually something that I prepared. I'm not going to show it to anyone, but I prepared it separately. It kind of looks like it may be kind of a pentagon or a hexagon of some sort, at least half of it. And then there appear to be two or three kind of like lines that are on the outside of it. Theater of the mind, ladies and gentlemen, theater of the mind.
Someone is sending us a message, Vesper. I don't know. Did you see anyone in the library that could have snuck this into our pockets?
No one. It appeared. This was not the hand of a man. But you see, our meeting grows deeper. And you see this here, and I flip it over, gate A. It leads us to our destination we've already decided upon. We need to make haste.
All right, let's go.
I want to look for a car that might be a little fancy with maybe some running boards on the side.
You're saying like an unattended car.
No, one that's like driving up the road, maybe kind of slow.
Okay. Looking out, how about Z? What sort of cars does he see? You're our car expert. Any idea of
Sure,
what
yeah.
might spy?
He actually sees a grand looking touring car, and I point it out and I say, Vesper, you see that vehicle? That looks like a 1915 Simplex Model 5 out of New Brunswick, New Jersey. I bet you
Wow.
those people are from New Jersey.
The perfect friends for us to go for a ride with. And I tap him on the shoulder and I start hustling on over as it's coming by so that, hopefully slow enough so that we could board the side of it and make some friends.
So it's a couple, kind of a Great Gatsby, Robert Redford looking fellow in his Baker Boy hat and like kind of a, well, no, it's after Labor Day, isn't it? And a dark suit. Just trying to decide what color the suit was. I've got that in the binder too.
Yeah. Suit color of suits table.
As you hop on the running board, he just sort of keeps going. He doesn't notice you actually at first. I don't know if he's with his girlfriend or wife or mistress or whoever this happens to be. And the two of them, she's kind of leaning over against him, kind of like just sort of making sweet eyes at him and doesn't notice. And Z, you just see Vesper hop on with ease.
Okay, I kind of walk over to the driver's side. So is the car moving or is it?
The car is moving. You don't walk.
The car's
you got to
moving.
jog after it.
Yeah, I'll jog around it. I mean, they don't go very fast, so I'll jog around it and kind of hail the driver and say, "Hey, are you headed towards the fens?"
You hear an old "auga" in the old style of the old-fashioned car horn, and he stops. I say there, fellow. And his girl turns to him and goes, "It's a priest. It's a priest."
I announce, "Be not afraid. He's a man of the cloth. We're going to the game. Drive on."
When you say that, the couple jump because they hadn't even seen you jump onto the back of their running board, and they're like, "My God, that's not a priest." And they both look very flummoxed at this point. Z, are you doing anything?
Yeah, I'm just gonna try to calm him down and say that's just my friend Vesper. He's a little unique, but we're I can't help
I
it.
say, old man, this is my new car.
Is this a Simplex Model 5?
Why, yes. It's fresh out of, would you say New Brunswick, New Jersey? It's fresh out of New Brunswick, right out of the factory.
Yeah, I've
floor,
seen
right
this. I've seen these in the catalogs. I'm quite a admirer of automobiles. Would you mind giving us a little ride just to see how smooth this thing goes?
The woman leans over to her husband, and you can barely hear her say, "Honey, this is a priest that knows about cars. He sounds dangerous. Let him just let's do what he wants, and let's just quietly get rid of him." And make an intellect roll. Right. And apply as much effort. I'm going to give you an asset in your collar. I'm going to say that I'm just automatically going to say that your collar is an asset. So I'm going to lower the difficulty by 1.
And what am I trying to do? Is this convincing them, or what is the role for?
So at this point, you've just asked them to give you a nice ride. So if you would like, I'm going to have, or not if you like, I'm telling you as game master to please go ahead and make a roll to try and convince them. So I'm going to give you an asset in the form of your collar. And now if you have some sort of an ability or a skill.
No, I don't have an ability, but I do have an intellect edge. So it's going to cost me 1 point to buy it down. And
so you're spending 3 points, and you're taking 1 point off for the edge. So it actually,
right? So 2 points, right? Okay, yep. So so it's and I rolled. I don't know if the camera can see it, but I rolled 15. A 15.
So she looks over and she tells her husband, and now you can't hear what they're saying. She whispers something and like does this with her eyebrows, and then they lean back, and he just goes, "Well, all right, old man, hop on."
All right. All right.
Hop on,
This
I
is-
say, and your little your friend here, if you could, excuse me, and he turns to you, Vesper. Can you on the other side,
Yeah.
maybe?
Vesper, get in the back seat. Get in the back seat for me, right? You can ride the back.
Oh, very well.
And so with that, you make your way down the road toward Fenway Park. So at this point, I'm going to have us take a break. I think this is a
Okay.
good moment to do so. Let's break for about, I'm going to say, I'm so used to doing this like when I'm teaching, but I'm going to say we can break for 10 minutes.
Okay.
Sound good? I'm going to mute my microphone and turn off my camera, but I may be back early. So I see 9:40 on my clock. So if everybody wants to make it back at 9:50, feel free to hop back in here and have a chat. I'm totally fine with that. We'll pick up the game at 9:50.
Right.
Okay. All right. Cool, guys.
See you then.
See you then. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching at home, I have 9:40 on my clock. I'm going to have everybody come back, as you probably understand now, at 9:50. We will see you then. I will probably be back as a teacher. I tend to hang out in the classroom all the time. So I'll be back at that time. Thank you.
I have a quick point of order.
Oh boy.
The modern word puke first appeared as a
Order.
verb
Order.
in the year 1600.
Oh.
It is thought to have been imitative in origin, evocative
Yeah.
of the sound itself, though it may also have been borrowed from the Dutch spugen, meaning to spit.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is educational historic role play. This is the kind of role play you cannot buy in stores anymore. You cannot. You go to any other channel, you're not going to hear with the origins of the word puke. Trust me.
You're welcome.
And Frank, if you're going to spugin into this. That's a Wayne's World reference, which, if I'm not mistaken, Jared, you and I saw together.
I think we did. Yeah.
Am I the only one here that hasn't
Been to the movies
Yeah.
with us?
Yeah, I guess so. Because that's the problem is that, so ladies and gentlemen, we're taking a small break here before we get back to the main game in about 5 minutes. So we were talking before the game started, and we were talking about how sometimes, like a good game master, I steal. And sometimes in our last game that we played a few weeks ago, I stole something from a movie, and they instantly recognized it and completely deflated the entire moment, the gravity of the moment. But that's okay. That's all right. That's just part of the game. That's just part of this life.
Well, your descriptive imagery was just so spot on that we couldn't help but remember that reference in detail.
One of the things that I often do to get myself in the game mastering mood is like I go running a lot, right? So I'll usually go for like an hour-long jog 5 or 6 times a week. And when I do that, I put on my headphones and I listen to some music that's kind of it evokes like the feeling that I'm looking for in the game. And then when I do that, I also often get these images in my head. And I happen to be listening to the soundtrack to the film that that I stole from. And so I was listening, and I thought, oh, I really want to use this moment. I really want to surprise him. I really want to surprise him. I really want to surprise him. Did I surprise him? I surprised them by stealing something that they recognized.
Well, now, since you shared that information, I think you should publish a playlist that will either precede the game so we can all kind of put ourselves mentally into that location, or afterwards so there's an aha moment.
I probably should. I have to eventually get everything. Well, first of all, I have to get the copyright on running that music during the game. Otherwise we're going to get struck by YouTube. And I think I could probably only do that for 3 games before I think they give you 3 strikes, and then you are totally out. So maybe we'll see. For those of you that are watching at home, one thing that we're doing tonight is we're just giving you like a real game, the way that we would really play it. So we don't have, with the exception of Frank's soliloquy at the beginning of the evening, we don't really have polished and prepared materials, no more polished and prepared than we usually have. So the idea is that we're just sort of, I have an idea of where I want to take it, but we actually wanted to show you the way that we play, like really play, warts and all. And this is something that we often do, is we often talk out our situations. And we probably have an advantage in that we've known each other for so long. I wouldn't say probably, we definitely have an advantage in that. But I hope that everybody is enjoying that. Okay, it's 9:50. And like the teacher that I am in my other life, I do like to start class on time. So let's get back to the game at this point. So while Vesper and Z are making their way quickly down down the road towards Fenway Park. We assume Gate A. What is it that Frank and TBD are up to at this moment?
Well, having cleared up the drunken debacle,
Mm-hmm.
I do want to take a moment, even while I'm still adjacent to the beer line, to now take a closer look at the orb. So what color is my orb?
It's kind of hot in here. I gotta turn the lights
blue
down.
green.
Oh, right. It's blue green. Okay.
I
Great.
actually found a die on the table here that was the right color. So
that's a good idea.
It's
Red
isolated
orange.
from, yeah.
Red
So
orange.
it's like, all right, but I want to take it out and simultaneously take a closer look at it and also glance up and around to see if anyone's watching, if there's anyone around here that could have dropped this in my pocket and is now looking for some sort of reaction.
So looking around, you don't notice anybody. No one that's out of place.
Right.
No one's looking at you. You are getting some glances from people that have just recognized that you are a watchman here. You are a security guard at Fenway Park, and they're giving you a wide berth, and they're giving you that kind of respectful look. But as far as you know, there isn't much in there. There's nothing to their looks beyond that.
And it says, help.
Help Gate A, and then on one side, there's either a rune or a symbol of some sort. You're not really sure what it is.
So I'm not making any pretense to even obscure or hide this at this point. I'm got it out in the open and I'm looking through it.
It doesn't seem to you that there would be any reason. And now, as you're watching this TBD, are you going to say anything to him about this? Or
we can assume I've gotten my beers and I'm on my way back.
You're on your way. Yes, we can.
Okay.
TBD
Perfect.
is nothing if not diligent in closing his circles. Yes.
Good.
You're on your way back.
All right, then I will stop and definitely be startled and say, kind of whisper, I got one of those as well.
What? What do you mean you got one of these?
One of those is.
This just showed up.
Yeah, exactly. The same thing happened to me. I did not pay attention when you gave the description, so I have no idea what color mine is.
Good.
I don't know if anyone else paid attention, but
I'm glad. Frank, let's do a roll call. Frank, yours is?
Bluish green.
Hold on. Blue, green. Yes, I'm remembering it now in my head. Steve, yours is?
Red orange.
Green clovers.
Purple horseshoe.
James, what is yours?
Mine is yellow-ish.
I knew that. I was about to say that. I don't know why you interrupted
I'm sorry I
me
cut
when
you
I said
off.
that.
That was very rude.
Yeah, that was rude. So Steve, Roy G. Biv. It's violet.
I like it. I got violet, huh?
I'm sorry. Yes, you're violet TBD.
I'll take it. Excellent. Perfect.
All right. Does yours say the same thing on here? Help Gate A?
Right, and some interesting drawing on the other side, correct?
Yeah.
I'm not sure
And
what that is exactly.
by the way, Frank, Gate A is the direction that those security guards ran in.
Oh. I didn't even have to roll for that. That's amazing.
Sense of direction.
We have to go by Gate C and Gate B on the way, but yeah. Can I see yours? Part of me just wants to see what he does with those beers as he pulls that orb out.
You got a hand free? I'll give you one of the beers.
Just
Yeah.
drink one.
Hand him one.
All right. Pull your orb out.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at They're identical. And someone put this in my pocket when I was breaking up those drunks.
That's when I got it as well.
It seems to me that something's going on at gate A. I'm going to head that way.
All right, I will be right behind you. Let me end the scenario I'm in now, end this interview, and then I can come help.
I have to give
I
you
want to
this
lose
beer
this
back.
opportunity.
All right. And I hand his beer back.
All right.
And while he goes in that direction back to the seats, I'm going to make a arrow towards gate A.
Okay. So TBD, can we fast forward you through
100%.
your... Okay, cool. So tell us a little bit about what happens. What do you explain to your prospective boss?
I will leave both beers, and I'll let him know that I unfortunately ran into a friend of mine up at the front who seems to have gotten ill, and I needed to take him home.
He's shoveling hot dogs into his
here's,
mouth.
Here's 2 beers. Please enjoy the 2 beers. Let's catch up again later in the week to finish this conversation.
Later in the week, and food is kind of like falling out of his mouth.
Forget your fictitious
unless
sick
you want to
friend.
do it sooner.
Yeah. And so with that, he's like, well, surely you can come on back before the end of the game, I would assume. Yes?
I will do my best.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, the first inning is, just starting, but okay. That's fine. Come on back when you have a moment. This is an interview, really. It's getting to know you, but it's still an interview. And then with that...
Yep, I understand.
Oh, okay. So you're risking your job, your prospective job.
Yep.
That's the whole game that I plotted, was you getting hired at Harvard and working through it, and now you're just diverging from the story now.
You blew it.
Throw that first binder out, get the next binder.
Yeah, gotta remake another one. All right, here we go. Put it in the garbage. So you do head off, and at that point, so Frank, you kind of make your way twisting through the hall toward a spot where there are several other security guards. And there actually appears to be, when you show up, another one of those ripples through the crowd where you see that people have sort of backed themselves up, and there has been some sort of fracas, some sort of something going on. But the first thing you notice is that there are 2 people knocked out on the ground, and the guards are actually attending to them, and they're calling for doctors and things like that.
Neither one of them is one of the guys that was stumbling around earlier. These are 2 different guys, right?
These are 2 different guys. So these are not related to the first 2. And there are 2 security guards that are kind of standing over them. And now at this point, there's a doctor. He's like, oh, is there a doctor in the house? The doctor does indeed come out and starts to sort of help out to aid them. And looking them over, it doesn't really look like they are, in your experience, seriously injured, but they appear to have taken a few blows to the head. And so now the security guards are handling this.
I'm going to ease up to one of the closest security guys, other guards. And, hey, Mac, I got here as fast as I could. There was an incident down near D gate. What I missed?
Who's Mac? Tell me who Mac is. You
Buddy.
know him. Older, younger?
Yeah. Oh, Mac. He's younger. He's a little bit more fit, a little bit more energetic.
So he kind of takes a look at you, and he's crisp and sharp in his uniform. He's
he
dressed to impress, and he's actually someone who hopes to join the police force. And maybe he's actually been pestering you about it in a kind of good way, not in a bad way. But he explains that what's just happened is that something really strange has just happened. It looked like 3 people came running out of the crowd, and they were chasing after these other people. And when he tries to explain who these people were, all he can explain is that they were like these blurs of light. And people, as you're listening in the crowd, as you're listening, they're all talking about these blurs or these flashes or these shadows. And as go ahead.
Where'd these shadows head? I mean, they came from somewhere and they went towards somewhere.
He takes off his cap and he scratches behind his ear and he's like, well, that's the part that doesn't make any sense. He points at the wall.
The wall. You're telling me
they went through that wall.
Running through a wall.
That's what they told me.
All right.
That's what they're all saying.
What about these guys on the ground?
These guys apparently, when they were going through, they were trying to stop them. We don't know exactly why, but these people were fighting and they slammed themselves or they slipped through this wall. I have no idea what the heck any of these people are talking about. I mean, you should.
Mac, have you been in the beer?
No.
Tonight? Because this sounds completely mad.
I assure you that I have not been. And he like leans over, he breathes in your face, and he just smells like toothpaste. So with that, TBD, you have now arrived on the scene and you catch the last bit of the conversation that is going on here between Frank and Mac.
All right, let me go, and I want to go investigate the wall, like press on the wall, see if there's any disfigurements of the wall, and to spice things up, I want to use my subtle cipher of inspirations.
Ladies and gentlemen, the first cipher of the night. So what is your cipher? It's can you describe it to us?
It's not an object, it's a subtle cipher.
Well,
I have no idea.
I guess what I meant was, can you describe what the cipher does? Maybe I should be more precise.
Okay, that's fair enough. I guess I just start putting any clues or pieces together, and it gives me help in trying to figure out what's going on.
Oh, okay. All right. Good enough for me. So with a cipher, they usually come with a level. Can you tell me what the level is? Or not always, but I think they pretty much. Oh, wait, they always do.
I have no idea.
Oh, thank you. What's it called again?
Inspiration.
Inspiration, and it's a subtle cipher. That sounds like a subtle cipher if I've ever heard one. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a real game. We're really looking things up. I don't see inspiration. Jared, I'm so sorry. This is not going to be an officially sanctioned Monty Cook cipher system game unless we track this down.
On page 378.
378. All right.
378.
Thank you
Subtle
very
ciphers.
much for that. Subtle ciphers.
It's called Right Under Good Fortune. Called inspiration. Sometimes you get inspired to do something you've never done before and might not be able to do again.
Oh, okay. What's the level? It should have a die roll there with sometimes a plus.
Not so much.
All right, don't worry about it. Roll me a 1d6 and we'll just handle it that way.
All right. 5.
Okay, level 5. Taking a look at it, taking a look at the wall, you notice something odd, as if the sunlight has baked the wall in a way where things have faded. But there's a certain area where it looks like a shadow has actually been baked into the wall. It's somehow darker, but that doesn't really make any sense because you're looking at this shadow that's sort of silhouetted on the wall, and it's slightly darker. It's not something that anyone else would really notice. And then you look and sort of line yourself up and think about the way that the sun's setting and the way that it would rise and the places that it would be. And when you look at it, it almost looks like it's the shadow of people.
Okay. Has Frank stopped talking to whoever he was talking to?
I don't know,
Yeah.
Frank. You're all interacting at this point.
I'm actually gonna peel away and try to be a gawker and take a closer look at the gentleman on the ground to see
Mm-hmm.
if there's anything I can discern from my time on the street.
Yeah. So I was going to say the two schlubs that are kind of helping him out. They're just regular Joes, but you've got that street advantage. So taking a look at them, tell me what you're looking for. What sort of things would you be looking for in two bozos that are strewn out
Well,
on the
why
floor of Fenway
why
Park?
they're strewn out? What type of damage, subtle or otherwise? Is there bruising?
Mhm.
Is there any blood? What's their affect like? Checking for breathing, circulation. I'm going through my ABCs right now. Airway, breathing.
Wait a minute. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You were talking about
Yeah, I know. I
puke.
got a little off.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's invented a Resusci Annie yet.
They are breathing though, right? I mean,
Not that
that's
I'm
one of the
aware
first
of.
things we're looking at.
Yeah.
They're breathing, they're just unconscious.
Mhm.
And bruising, any sort of bruising, facial,
So-
head.
That's going to be, I'm just going to say right off the bat, I'm going to reduce it there a level for that. Is there anything you have on you that would help you kind of figure out what's going on with these two bozos?
You know what?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna pull out my handy dandy flashlight just to illuminate them, make it brighter, make it a little more obvious.
Get a nice close look in there. And then do you want to apply a level of effort?
I'll use an intellect effort. This seems to be a little bit of thought and a little bit of observation, and I do pull an edge in on that as well. So I'll drop my intellect pool down another 2 just for good faith. So
Sounds
that should make it a little bit easier. That's 3
Yeah,
levels.
you can roll for that. I mean, yeah.
I rolled a 7.
Oof. Oof.
Looking at them, they kind of look like your run-of-the-mill street thugs.
Thugs. But they're down.
Yeah, that's about all you can tell. They might be.
And these guys just tried to stop. My understanding is they tried to stop the ghost wall runners.
Talk to other people, it's hard to get the story straight. Some people are saying they were, some people are saying they got in the fray, other people are saying, something else. But you're not getting a straight story.
Bizarre. All right, I'm going to pop up and go. I want to see what TBD's up to.
Okay, so let's go back to Z and to Vesper. The two of you approach and are let off of your what kind of car was it? Z?
Simplex Model 5.
Oh, the Simplex. Okay.
Yeah.
How silly. I should have remembered that. The Simplex Model 5
From New
you hop
Brunswick.
off from New Brunswick,
correct.
New Jersey. Brand new vehicle. It putters off down the street, and the young lady that was kind of like leaning into her husband just sort of like squeezes his shoulder as they go off, and she gives you like a dirty look, and you can just hear her whisper, priest who knows about cars is no good. And then they keep puttering off down the road to disappear into the sunset. Gate A is even slower than it would have been, not just in the middle of a game, but now that we're in the middle of the game and the attendance is so low and all of that. And actually, there aren't many people that are around. And looking around before you, you see like the standard like turnstiles to enter and whatnot. And so at this point, you see a few sleepy looking attendants that are
I say,
waiting.
Vesper,
Tickets.
do you notice anyone who looks like they might need help? You think that's something cryptic, something in code, perhaps?
Indeed, it could be. We can look into it, but let's take it at face value and just shine some light on it right here. We must go into the game. I hop out of the car and just start walking straight in.
Are you just going to walk through the turnstile?
I am walking up to the turnstile. Is there an attendant or someone taking tickets or doing something like this?
There's a sleepy looking kid. He looks like he's not much older than he's never probably freshly out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
He's just sort of leaning over and he's looking at you.
As I'm walking up, before I even get there, I'm not even going to break stride. I'm just going to skewer him with a finger. You there! And I'm going to use my enthrall ability.
He does this? Oh, okay.
And I'll just start talking to him like, we need to enter the game immediately. Here, right here. This is the priest to give us the 7th inning blessing. We have to get inside immediately.
The priest giving the 7th inning blessing.
And I'm just
the 7th inning
right
blessing. So tell us how enthrall works.
While I'm talking, I will grab and keep another creature's attention, even if they can't understand me. As long as I do nothing but speak, they take no actions but to defend themselves over multiple rounds. It ends if they're attacked, but I'm not going to attack. I just want them to stand there struck dumb as we're going to just swoop right in.
Oh my gosh. So you are just plowing through. You're faking it till you make it.
Here we go.
Enthrall. Okay. Did you say the 6th inning or the 7th inning blessing?
You don't want to be the one to deprive this entire stadium of God's help in this trying time. Let us through.
As you say that, clouds in the sky actually part slightly. And a beam of light lands, even though it doesn't have any physical properties in order to land. But I'm still going to use that word, on the ground, and starts to slowly creep forward until it lights the young attendant up. And he simply says, the 7th inning blessing must not be stopped. And he pulls a lever, and the lock on the turnstile is, you hear this click. And tell us how you stride through the turnstile properly.
Well, is this like a rotating one or this one? Or...
Be careful, James, because if you get it wrong and you haven't done your research, I'm going to deduct an XP. I'm just kidding.
Trick question. There are no turnstiles. It hasn't been invented yet.
That's
just
right.
a door.
It's actually a retinal identification laser.
I use Z's eyeball.
Yeah. So you're able to stride right through, and then Z,
I have him with my finger, and I'm talking at him the whole way as I'm passing him. Like, Z, give the boy a blessing, and I just walk right past him.
So Z, you're left there. Are you going along with this?
Yeah, I'm gonna turn to the kid and say, "Son, we're on a mission from God."
And as you say that,
kind of
though,
shake my head and walk through. Yeah.
as you say it, the light, the cloud closes, and you hear a slight rumbling, and it looks like, that's not lightning, is it? But you're not sure. So you continue through, and as you move through gate A, you're kind of in this large kind of clearing area, or cleared area.
Can I interject a thing, just
You may.
for my own edification?
Yes, you may.
So that enthrall ability, which is 1 int worth of pool point,
Right.
but I have an edge of intellect, so this was essentially free for me to do. Is that correct?
Are you sure about that? That doesn't sound right to me, because I'm going to say, for tonight's game, I'll say yes, but I believe that that's something we should research, because it seems like if it were free, you would just be making it all day long.
Well, yeah.
All
right. Well, that's how I read it. So of course we'll get to the bottom of it as we get.
Yeah, we'll figure it out later. But for the game, let's just keep playing.
Thanks.
So not a problem. So as you, oh boy, Frank's getting his book out. Thank you, Frank. We may retroactively change that, Vesper. So as you enter, indeed, you find that exactly the place is almost deserted at this point. There are a few people kind of around, and you can hear the sounds of the game going on. And we're probably in, at this point, I'm going to be like loosey-goosey with the time, but I'm going to say that we are in the 2nd inning at this point. Or no, we'll call it the 3rd. And in the 3rd inning, what you hear is the crack of a bat as a ball is hit. And where it lands and what happens, nobody knows, but you do hear the crowd cheering as this happens. And looking over toward gate A, though, you can see that unlike most of the area where it's kind of cleared out, this area actually looks a little bit busier and denser the closer you move actually toward that gate A area of or an entranceway to the building. And there's a crowd kind of milling about, and they're all around something that you can't quite make out.
I want to get right to the middle of what's happening here. I'm feeling like, you know, we're drawn here. This is really a extravagant event, like supernatural. Like we need to be a part of it, and I need to prove myself that this is all just nothing. That it's some trick. So I'm going to get right through to the crowd and step into the middle of it, and I'm going to pull this orb out of my pocket and start just trying to get a gauge on everyone in this area.
Now, how are you moving through the crowd? Are you actually like doing some? Are you kind of rudely elbowing your way through, or are you?
Not really rudely. It's kind of a mishmash. Like I'll have an arm ahead of me to kind of guide the person ahead of me out of the way. I'll tap another guy on the other shoulder so he looks away and I slither past. And then another one I'll call around the side of him so he looks the other way. And I'm just going to try and, without having to violently push through, make as straight of a path as I can.
You sort of snake your way through as best as you can, just as you've just described, cutting and threading your way through the crowd until you come to that inevitable clearing that you find. And maybe being the person that you are, you've probably been in situations where you've seen crime scenes, or you've seen like crowds of people gathered around something, all looking inward on it. And indeed, you're surprised, but kind of not surprised, unless you feel otherwise, to find two gentlemen that sort of look like they've been knocked out. They're being tended to by a doctor, and there are a few security guards that are standing around. And you've got your orb out, is that correct?
Yeah. As I break through that crowd, and I see the people on the ground, and I'm considering that, but as soon as I see the security guards, I kind of stop and lower my hand, and just while I'm still kind of like staring at the security guards, but I just go still.
So as you look up, is he going to see you, TBD, and is he going to see you, Frank? Are you going to be
Yeah,
standing
probably.
out in
I'm
any?
up- Yeah, I mean, I'm
haven't-
up by the wall, and I'm trying to get Frank's attention to come over to the wall.
Yeah,
So
and
then,
I was looking up towards TBD, but there was one last thing I wanted to do with the guys on the ground.
okay, you have a moment to do that if you'd like.
Well, barring any other authorities around here, I'm just going to give them a quick pat down. One, to make sure like all their limbs are in place and they're not broken underneath their clothes, but also just to see any weapons, any identification, just a quick once over. And anything I find, I put just on their chest so they're easier to identify when a doctor does arrive.
So I'm going to retcon the doctor that I said was actually tending to the two, and I'm going to say it's a nurse. I think I missed a ridiculous opportunity. I'm going to say it's a nurse, and she identifies herself and kind of looks up at you for a moment, and as you start to sort of reach out to touch one of the bodies, she smacks your hand.
Yeah.
What do you think you're doing? I'm working on these two.
Well, they're unconscious. I was just going to check for identification. I'm with security here at Fenway.
I know you're with security, and you're about as subtle as a bull in a china shop. Now, I know what I'm doing. I need you to step back. These two men have had bad blows to the head, it looks like.
It does appear to be. Can I at least check for a wallet? No?
She just waves you.
Lord.
She waves at you as if she were waving you away. And
Like a bug.
she doesn't want your business. She kind of gives you this look like she's not taking you very seriously. And you can kind of hear her mumbling under her breath. Dumb, thick-headed meat
Medical professionals.
heads.
I
So
can take
she
a
has,
hint.
and so you back off.
I'm gonna not back all the way off. I'm still gonna be right over his shoulder, just to bug her a little bit, but not get slapped again.
So Z, what you see now is TBD, who's working on the wall and kind of checking it out. Your newfound friend, Vesper, has just rushed through the crowd and kind of stepped away from you. And then you see Frank, or I should say a security guard, getting waved away by a nurse who's tending to two people on the ground. And you might have heard something about a blow to the head and the other one being the security guard being a meathead. Are you up to anything at this point?
Yeah, I make my way over to the guys on the ground because I feel like they look like they need help. And that's what the stone said.
So as you move toward them, how do people react to a priest at a baseball game?
I honestly, I don't think I'd get much of a reaction. I don't think it's that uncommon a sight. It's not.
Especially with the Red Sox.
Yeah,
they need as much help as they can get.
Yeah, right. No, I don't think I would get much of a reaction for being a priest in any way. But I will actually yell out, "Is somebody in need of help here?"
The nurse looks up. Oh, thank God. And she kind of, when she says that, she kind of chuckles because she realizes what she's just said. She's like, "Get over here, get over here."
Yeah, what can I do to help?
So she obviously seems to know exactly what she's doing, but she's trying to work on them to sort of bring them back. And she's like, "Can you tell someone to go get some sort of doctor or something right now? I know that they're calling, but they have no idea what they're doing." And so with that, the two of you, she kind of gives you some things to do, and what you realize is that she's trying to bring them to. But they seem to be almost, to you, sleeping like babies. So at this point, you're all kind of mixed together, and I'm going to say that you're able to sort of interact in any way you would like. The only other authorities here at the moment, the nurse is maybe at the top of the chain, and then the other two security guards I'm thinking, Frank, and you can disagree. Do you have rank on them, at least as far as your age goes?
Age, yes, age and experience, but obviously most of us are just one-offs, contract work,
Yeah.
nighttime police officers. We're just covering bases.
Mm-hmm. So
But I
then
do
at
have
this,
age.
so then at this point, you are all free to talk as you will and sort of figure out or investigate this situation.
All right, come over here. Check this out.
I'll step away from the guys on the ground. What is it, TBD?
Well, they said two people ran into the wall, correct? That's what you
Yeah,
heard as well? Well,
yeah,
look,
they said,
and I've shown the way the shadow is deeper or whatever that I found. There is a marking in the shape of people. I don't know exactly what that means, but it's not.
I'm going to hit it with the
far-fetched.
flashlight, see if it stands out a little bit more.
So you hit it with the flashlight and you see the color just brighten. And that same effect that I described earlier for Z's spherical orb, you now see in the front, or the back, whatever it may be, the rune. And then on the other side, to you, it's a rune, right? You haven't made the connection that Z and
The
and
fun
Vesper
shape.
made. Yeah.
Right.
And then the back is help, gate A.
Do I notice that they're holding these spheres?
I think that you would. They are standing around.
Yeah, I excuse myself from the nurse and go over and say to Frank, where did you get that stone? And I pull out mine that looks similar.
Hey, Father. Honestly, it just appeared in my pocket. I couldn't tell you where it came from. It was just moments ago. It just showed up. And my friend here, TBD, he's got one too. It's the damnedest thing. Forgive my language.
Yeah, you're forgiven. But look, I've got one and Vesper there also. Something strange, and it said help, gate A.
Yeah.
Yours did too?
Hold it up. Hold it up.
Yeah.
Help, gate A.
Very, very strange.
I approached the group right then, saying, "You three, the dawning of the Aeon of Horus is upon us. See here where you tap your flashlight, and see here," and I hold up my yellowish orb. "This map. What does yours hold?"
What do you mean map?
I array Z's with mine and then elicit them to do the same.
Absolutely. Let's do
Hold it out.
Dun, 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 Voltron.
it.
Anachronism jar.
Yeah, that's it. No Voltron. Well, the sad thing is I was planning on having you form a giant robot, but now I can't do that because you
Japan beat us
spoiled
to
it.
it actually this past week.
So, are you placing them together, or are you just sort of like putting
Yeah, we'll
them
put them together. It obviously looks like they go.
as you put them together and each one of you reaches out with your orb, you feel almost it's like a vibration that begins, and you can feel that the closer you get them together, the more they vibrate. But I'm moving my hand in a way that sort of, it looks like there's a ton of movement, but it's like a very fine movement at a very high speed. And they almost feel like they're going to vibrate out of your hands. And when you put the four of them together, everybody make intellect rolls for no particular reason, just for fun.
So
this has no
we're not
effect.
gaining any effort or anything. We're just a straight up roll.
Yeah, just make a straight up roll.
I love rolling my intellect.
Oh, second
And I
time
mean,
tonight.
if you want
15.
to use, okay, I was going to say if you want to use effort in this, I will allow you to use.
I rolled a
Effort.
19.
Mm-hmm.
Not as good as my 20.
I
Eh.
will use effort. The rate of vibration is very interesting to my musical soul.
Okay.
And I rolled a 10.
So a 10. All right. So we had a 19 and a 20. And I know that
Yep.
Steve has been reading up on
Mhm.
on rolling. What, Steve, can you tell the viewers at home what a 19 and a 20 means? What's a 19 and what's a 20?
Any roll of a 19 or a 20 indicates
Mhm.
almost like a critical success. So a 19 is a minor success and a 20 is a major success. So under normal circumstances, like with this roll, we don't really know what we're rolling for. So it's going to be kind of up to the GM to decide what
Yeah.
those major successes look like. But let's say it was a roll to climb a mountainside. A 19 would get you up a little faster, and a 20 would kind of mean that you just jumped right up.
You have been reading
I've been doing my homework.
the core rule book. That's like
Correct.
almost, that's like close quote after saying that. And with the combined 19 and the 20, you notice that the vibrations in the stones or in the orbs has stopped, and now they're actually held together. You cannot draw them apart. And they smooth, the orbs go from vibrating to just completely still. But when you look up, everything around you, the light, everything has faded and gone a pale, washed out, sun-bleached sort of color. The person standing next to you, the nurse tending to the two on the ground, the security guard who was leaning over and pointing down at the two bodies. And everything around you has gone completely still in this faded, sun-faded, washed out kind of light. Sun-bleached almost. But they're not quite still because they're all vibrating as if that vibration in the stones has moved from those stones, from those orbs, to everything that is now around you. And
But-
looking over, go ahead.
But not us.
But not you. Everyone is frozen as if frozen in time.
I do the sign of the cross because I'm a little freaked out.
What is happening, gentlemen?
There's a silence wherever you are now, or to whatever has happened. And it's that sort of silence that you hear when you step out into a winter snow in New England. The snow absorbing the sounds around you. There's a quiet and almost a chill in the air. And you're not sure, but do you actually see your breath? Everything around you freezes. Nothing moves except for that steady but smooth vibration in every single thing around you.
I want to reach out and touch the wall where those people went into the shadow.
Your hand goes right through it.
Oh,
What the devil?
well, this is
I
unexpected.
say we go
Go where?
into the wall. Follow those people.
So what people? What are you talking about? What happened? Who went through the wall?
I don't know. The only one we know is that there were those ruckus, were those people who were knocked out on the ground. Apparently, were attempting to stop other people from running, and they were running in the direction of the wall. I guess those two got knocked out, and when I got here, we noticed that there was a shadow in the shape of people on the wall, and other people in the crowd confirmed people ran through the wall.
And they were blurs.
Blurs, yeah, a lot of blurs, a lot of talk of shadows, blurs.
You know, it could be these blurs drop these orbs
They
into
have
our
more
possessions.
zones. That's right.
Sounds
all
like
of-
we've.
Yeah, all of these said help gate A, and we're at gate A right now.
Yeah.
And it's no coincidence that these all have come together.
Everyone these days sees bogeymen with natural occurrences. And even as I'm saying this and trying to explain it away, that this is illusion or
Natural?
something like that, I want to think through my supernatural knowledge to see if I know of such a phenomenon of tales of some kind of supernatural beings that blur and pass through matter, or these alternate reality spaces.
Tell us all a little bit about your past with the supernatural and your interest in it and things like that.
As part of being in the greater creative community of Boston, and finding patrons for art and mixing in these circles, another aspect of that led to the after parties in these places of these rich people to having seances and moving into mystical societies, and being driven to succeed in this creative art and trying to lure people to my art as well as to find patrons to fund it through deception and otherwise. These mystical societies held something of interest because there's trickery and deception and illusion to what's happening, and being rather skeptical myself, it all seems as so much hocus pocus, mumbo jumbo. But because I could have an influence there with any abilities that I have, and any trickery that I try to elicit on people, drew me in there. And over time, I can find that the people involved in it, who might be, the higher wizards or something like that, of these supposed societies, are not so much as charlatans. But being skeptic can also hold that kernel of truth, perhaps, in the texts that are there, in some of the other speakings of what everyone is studying. So being immersed in it to try and find, decide or filter out what is legitimate and what is utter charlatanry.
Yeah. All right. I love that. I will factor that into your intellect roll. And at this point, I'll remind you that with every roll, you can add 3 different things. You can add an asset. Might be something physical, like in your pack. There may be, you can also use an ability. And then you can use or you can use effort.
I'm going to use effort.
Okay.
And then
so that's,
as I was saying this initial thing that I can't, as I'm trying to explain, these bogeymen and this is illusion. As I'm saying this, a black cat walks from behind my leg that no one had seen before, and just appears, and then calmly sits just next to my foot. And I say this, and I look down and say, Mars, surely we've known of this before.
All right. You're gonna expend effort.
Yes.
Okay.
A 7. Gross.
You got nothing.
Well,
But
Good speech.
thanks.
one thing. You read a story once. It's not exactly fresh in your mind, but about someone called the messenger. And the stones remind you of something. That's about all you get.
All right. I kind of trail off after I've said all this, as if I'm kind of struck for a moment. I'm staring into that space that TBD had pushed his hand through. Can we
Mhm.
see through that? Or is it just
No.
pure a wall that he's moving his hand through?
And everything else is frozen.
I don't know, Frank. Are you testing things?
I'm gonna wave my hand in front of that nurse's face.
Nothing happens.
I'm gonna try to touch her hand.
Your hand goes through it.
Yeah.
And you get almost, as your hand goes through it, an image of her life, you presume, reverses through your mind in the flash of an eye or the blink of an eye. And you didn't even, it hits you so hard, you don't even know what you looked at or what you didn't know what the details are, but you just know. You've just seen this whole person's life in reverse in the blink of an eye. And it almost leaves you a little bit jarred.
Guys, don't try to touch any of the ghosts. Oh, I can't. Oh.
You're calling them ghosts now.
Have we crossed over into a spirit realm? Is that what we think? I reach into my satchel and pull out a little vial of holy water that I have in there, and sprinkle it at the wall.
It goes right through the wall, or at least I should say it disappears. You're expecting it to splatter. You've done this, you've done this thousands of times, and you're waiting to see the droplet hit it, and then the streak as it moves down the surface of the wall, but it goes right through it. Those droplets.
The light hitting.
I say we keep going through.
The droplet there sparks something in my eye, and I start peering at it. And one of my ciphers is going to kick in, which is Eagle's Eye, which grants the ability to see 10 times as far as normal for a duration of time. But I want to see if this can penetrate this, what I feel is an illusory wall with this enhanced vision that we find on page 388.
I love your annotated dialogue. That's
because
wonderful.
For a more realistic game, the Eagle's Eye cipher could instead give the user 2 assets on tasks involving seeing long distances, but I'm really kind of massaging it to something different.
No. Here's what I'll say. Your Eagle's Eye, this feeling that you've somehow that you can access something, you can see something, you can notice something, that you have a knack sometimes, and this is just a moment when you feel that you have this knack. You look at the wall and you don't see anything. But when you look away and blink and you look off like towards this, there's like a kind of like a brick sort of arch that you're standing beneath, and you look out you see out, and you just feel like almost nauseous as you look straight out, and you can see the details of like a child 10 blocks away eating an ice cream. You can see, you know, a man reading a newspaper sitting through in the window of a barbershop as he's getting a haircut, like all of these things. But then you look back and you train your gaze back at that wall, and instead of seeing far, what you see is deep. And you see deep. First, you see the flecks of paint that are on the wall, and then you begin to see that they're not actually flecks of paint. They're like little tiny individual molecules of paint, but you wouldn't know to call them a molecule, not at that, or maybe you would at that point, but in 1918, you probably wouldn't know. You see like a little lattice work of small little things vibrating, and then you see deeper, and those small little things are vibrating themselves. And as you move left and right, there's a texture to the wall. And you can see that you've never noticed this before. You can see it's a layer of paint, but it's really broken down. And you can see the way that different molecules are arranged in different ways to create slightly different shades of the color of the wall. And it's almost like you can see shadows as light goes between them.
I step forward through the wall, following the light.
You step
my
forward.
cat follows me.
So the three of you who remain see Vesper just simply step forward. And at this point, Vesper, I've got to say, as you move forward, that thing is the stone, or whatever it was, the stones are kind of clinging together. Are you going to pull them apart? You get the feeling that you could probably pull them. It's like they're magnetized and sticking together. You could pull them apart if you wanted.
That tug, as I'm trying to move away, draws me back to reality. And I stop and turn and consider it, and I pull it away from the others.
Gentlemen?
So you pulled the stone away from the other three?
They are almost stuck together at this point. It feels like to pull them apart would take effort. And when I say effort, I don't mean in the cipher sense. I just mean in real life sense. It would be hard to pull the four of them apart. And that is what, I don't want to speak for him, but that is, Vesper, that is what gave you pause. Is that correct?
Yeah, like it's almost seeing my face as I'm doing this. It's like I'm kind of drawn into the wall almost. But then as it drags back on my arm as I'm moving away from everyone else, I just stop and turn back.
Your cat looks up at you
and I pull it away. And I pull the stone away and look down to Mars.
Is he able to pull it completely away?
You get the feeling you could pull the four pieces apart if you wanted to, the four orbs apart. But they feel like they're stuck together, and they're kind of like, but you feel like maybe a good jerk would pull them apart.
Well, if the man in black is trying to pry them apart, it seems to me this might be a cause and effect thing. So I'm going to pull on mine too. Just guys, I want to see if we can separate these and if it makes a difference or not.
Probably
you guys gonna
drop us back into regular? If you want to stay like this, we should probably keep them together.
It's
roll
my
for
suspicion.
initiative.
It's my suspicion that these stones were brought together to help someone, and that person needing help is beyond that wall.
Through that wall. That's right.
That's gate A.
Right.
Metaphorically speaking.
And literally.
Yeah.
There's something beyond beyond the natural going on here.
Well, it's a good argument to help someone. I'm in. I'm going to stop yanking on the ball.
Yes, you do that, Frank, please.
It's good.
It's a family show.
So what's your decision here? I mean, Vesper, it looks like your newfound companions, at least for now, have decided to keep it together here.
Was I able to pull mine away?
Are you going to 100% pull it away?
Well, I don't know the level of resistance. I was going to just draw it away.
At this point, I'm calling it and saying, basically, it's up to you. The resistance that you're getting now are 3 other people that are holding on to this thing. And were you to yank it, you get the feeling you could yank it away.
Yeah. I'm
Or
pulling
it's
it.
not like,
Okay. I was starting to pull it as if to remove it from this.
Mhm.
And I am very thoughtful after having gone through this transition here. And I look down at Mars, who's looking back up at me. And after a beat, I'll look back to the group of 3. And just wait.
I'm sorry. What was your name again?
I'm Vesper.
Vesper. You seem to know something. You want to head through that wall, or are you not sure?
I will never be sure. But why would we not?
I agree. I want to go through. This is new. Let's do it.
Say, let's do it.
Come, Mars, and I lead the way through the wall.
Get dragged along with him, keeping the stones together.
keeping the stones together, you see Vesper as he takes a cautious step forward. And he, as if he were walking into a vertical pool of water, steps through the wall, disappearing. First, there's 3/4 of Vesper, then there's half of Vesper, then there's 1/4 of Vesper, and then there's just the tip of Vesper's cat's tail and his heel as he disappears, and his hand pulling the stone as he's gone. And his hand is slowly disappearing. You gentlemen are going with him?
Yeah, I say that's awesome, and I follow right away.
That's awesome.
Anachronism.
Nice.
You would have to say, in Boston, you say, that's wicked.
That's wicked.
Fair enough.
All right.
Fair enough.
Well, there's a holy man, an academic, and a weirdo. They won't survive anything at this point, so I'm going along.
And with that, you see Frank, the man who sometimes gets things for you, also disappears, and his hand is going through, and you're all kind of slowly moving forward. And I assume Z and TBD, you just follow right after?
Yeah.
So there is a almost thunderclap sound. And what you see before you is darkness that suddenly defines itself into almost a prism. And it's like you're looking through one of those telescopes with all of the like the jeweled kind of plasticky pieces in it, multicolored. And it turns and twists, and then it almost bends, and you get the sensation of transport. And you feel as if your entire being is being bent and distorted. But what you're really seeing when you look around is the world around you bending. And you can see molecules of the paint, molecules of the concrete, molecules of the dust between the hollows in the concrete block as you step through. And when you emerge on the other side, all of you are thrown to the ground in a dank underground room with bizarre kinds of piping and ducts all throughout. And as you fall to the ground, you notice that there between you on the ground is the four orbs, but they have fallen apart now. And they are kind of steaming as if they are spent.
Are they hot to the touch?
Yes.
Yeah. Ooh. I'm gonna poke at it. Does it still say the same thing?
They look like, no, they look like they've been singed and burned.
No.
And then as you kind of start to get up, you hear very good job. And you look up and it looks like you're in some sort of basement with some lights that are hanging here and there. It's very cold and moist. And there's dim light. Standing in front of you are two men, one on the right, one on the left. The one on the right is dressed in a black hat. He's got a kind of, maybe a crook in his neck. And he's wearing a black suit that's ill-fitting and wrinkled. And he looks up and he's actually got a monocle. And he takes a very deep breath. The man on the left is actually leaning against some big piece of heavy machinery. And he's dressed in breeches with suspenders and a cap on sideways. And he looks very, he's a very handsome fellow. And he's clapping and smiling as he looks at you. And then he looks back. Back in the back of the room, where what you see is a woman hunched over with a hood, wearing a robe. And then with her are a very thin and gaunt man who's wearing clothing. Well, I should say she was wearing a robe of the time, but he is wearing clothing of the time. He's thin and pale, and he looks almost withered. Except there's something strange about his skin. And as you look at him, you can see he's almost self-conscious about it. And you can tell that this entrance has been unexpected, and he rolls his sleeves down as if to hide his skin. Next to this tall, gaunt man is a young boy. And the boy is holding in one hand something that you can't quite see. And the man that's leaning against the machinery continues to applaud, points at the boy, and tuts, tut, 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 and then looks back at the four of you, these visitors, to wherever you happen to be. And he spreads his hands apart, smiles, and he's very, very handsome when he smiles. And then he says, "Welcome." And so with that, we will end. Yeah, fade to black.
Okay.
I'm not going to say whether or not you're rolling initiative. We'll pick that up with the next game. So thank you all very much for tuning in tonight. This has been a lot of fun for me. I had a great time. I have to admit, I was like super nervous at the beginning. I am still super nervous, but I feel a little better now. I hope that you watching this enjoyed it, and I hope that my players enjoyed it. We are going to end the stream for tonight. Once again, this is my buddy Jared, who is playing TBD. This is my good buddy James, who is playing Vesper. This is my other good buddy, Steve, who is playing Z or Ezekiel. And then, of course, last but not least, we have Frank, who has been playing. I've forgotten what's the name of your character, Frank?
Murph.
Murph, that's right.
Frank Murphy.
Frank Murphy. So thank you all very much for tuning in. We hope that you will tune in next Wednesday. We'll be playing from 8 to 11 one more time. We will be picking up where we left off. If I've always wanted to say this, but if you liked what you've seen, please hit the subscribe button. Like and subscribe. I never thought I'd find myself saying that, but oh well. Please do. And please feel free to share if you like this, please. Thank you guys very much. And thank you to the viewers out there, whoever and wherever you may be. Have a good one, everybody.